Thank you all again for joining today to talk about thriving in 2025. So we know that, from my perspective, I already said it's only January 29th, but 2025 in my book feels like it's already been months. There's a lot of new challenges coming. So we're all really here just to talk about how you as D2C brands can make sure, these challenges are still things that you guys can overcome and we can get through and we can be profitable this year. So to kick us all off, we will do a brief introduction of all of our speakers, and I can start. So I'm Lindsay Kolinsky. I am the Director of Marketing at Okendo. And if you're not familiar with Okendo, we are a customer marketing platform for Shopify brands, and we do reviews, quizzes, surveys, loyalty, and referrals. And I'll kick it off to Scotty next.
Hey, I'm Scotty. I'm on the content marketing team at Rebuy. Rebuy is a AI-powered personalization platform. We do product recommendations across the entire customer journey, among a bunch of other things. And so excited to be here and talk to you guys in such a strange time. And I guess do you want me to just throw it to someone else? T, why don't you go?
Hey guys, I am Thamana. I am one of the most recently hired tech partners on the Triple Whale side. Okendo, thank you so much for having us today, for having all of us here today. And I'm wearing actually my Okendo shirt. On this side, sorry. And happy Lunar New Year to those who celebrate. You know what? I'm gonna throw it to Carly.
Awesome. My name is Carly. I manage the partnerships team here at ShipBob. Who ShipBob is we help brands manage all things logistics. I've been in logistics for about 7 years today and super excited to join my fellow speakers on this panel. And Emily, I will hand it off to you.
Perfect. Thanks, Carly. I'm Emily. I'm the Director of Retention at The Luxury. For anyone who's not familiar with The Luxury, we are a marketing partner for D2C brands, helping with acquisition, retention, and CRO. And I'm really excited to be here. So I guess I can throw it back to you, Lindsay.
Great. All right. Well, let's get our conversation started. So to kick it all off, I know when everyone registered for this webinar, we actually asked the question, what is the biggest e-commerce challenge you think is for you as a brand in 2025? So some of the answers that we got from you guys, just in terms of patterns, acquisition, cost of acquiring customers, reaching new customers, retention growth, scaling profitably, maintaining customer loyalty, competition. Those were some of the big things that we've seen. So I'd like to start off by asking our panelists the exact same question. So Tamana, let's start with you. What do you think the biggest e-commerce challenge for brands will be in 2025?
Yeah, good question. So I would say in 2025, e-commerce brands will face significant challenges as rising advertising costs on platforms like Meta and Google continue to strain marketing budgets, which is going to make it harder to maintain profitability while driving growth. So to counteract these increasing costs, brands will need to diversify their advertising strategies, exploring platforms like TikTok, Snapchat, Pinterest, and retail media networks to reach audiences more cost effectively. And additionally, building strong organic and owned media channels such as email, SMS, and social content will be essential to reduce dependency on paid ads. So influencer media, particularly with micro and nano influencers, will provide an authentic way to connect with niche audiences. Brands will also need to adopt advanced attribution models to measure performance across channels accurately and refine their strategies in real time. Ultimately, those who focus on diversifying platforms and maximizing customer lifetime value through retention efforts will be better positioned to navigate the challenges of increasing ad costs while sustaining growth.
Love that. I think, yeah, absolutely along that theme of like how we're going to acquire new customers and what we need to do, diversification, how we're going to do that, especially with all these channels changing. And we're going to get deeper into that as well. Carly, I'll throw this one off to you next.
Yeah, so for on the shipping side, really like what we see as a challenge going into 2025 is, who on this call doesn't like 2-day shipping? And it's really how you can do that affordably, scale with it, and maintain profitable. Usually what we see brands do is when it comes to 3PL and finding the right 3PL partner for you to maintain that, free shipping, 2-day shipping, it's really diversifying your inventory amongst a couple warehouses. But I think as brands really scale up that 2-day shipping, I mean, Amazon just like really sets the standard for free 2-day shipping. So just being able to compete with that and make sure you're not losing money while you're doing it.
Absolutely. That profitability coming up again. Emily, what about you?
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge for e-commerce brands will be really mastering that customer experience to unlock and maximize your LTV. So really driving that repeat purchase rate, right? So I think customers today, they are really expecting at the bare minimum personalization, convenience, and value. So I think what brands will really need to do is really seamlessly integrate your data-driven insights with creative strategies to deliver that really hyper-relevant, emotionally resonant experiences at every touch point. I think that's success will really hinge on balancing technology with human connection, creating not just transactions, but really that relationship that keeps customers coming back.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to get deeper into that loyalty topic as well. And last but not least, Scotty, what do you think the biggest challenge for brands in 2025 is going to be?
I want to go super high level and just say personalization's kind of been like a running theme through this. So Tom, let's personalize your answers. I think it's just blocking out the noise and figuring out what you want to prioritize, what you want to focus on, finding the e-commerce metric for you that you really want to hone in on and improve, and looking at the levers you can adjust to achieve that. We got so many different answers to this question, And so I think it's finding the one that you really want to double down on, and then A/B testing, finding the different ways that you can follow the data and see that you are actually making incremental improvements on it, and then just doubling down on what works. But yeah, like, look, it's the longest January in our lifetime. So much has happened in the last 29 days. So finding out how to block out the noise, focus on what's going to help your brand, I think will be a big challenge for this year, but we all can do it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, again, with so many competing priorities and going back to profitability, teams getting smaller, utilizing AI. And again, we'll get into all of this, but I think the idea of really focusing and not being, so overwhelmed by the noise and what everyone else is doing, find what works for your brand. So really great point. Scotty. All right. One thing I actually forgot to mention to everyone as well, this is being recorded and it will be sent out. But if you do have any questions, please put them in the chat. We'll either have our panelists answer if anything comes in while it's happening, or if we have some time at the end, we can address those questions as well. Perfect. So talking about loyalty and retention, given that that was one of our big themes, and Emily, you had mentioned this earlier, how do you see loyalty and retention evolving in 2025, and what should brands do this year to keep their retention strategies relevant and
Yeah.
effective?
Yeah, so I think we're seeing an immense shift towards personalization, right? I think this is something that we've all talked about on this panel. And I think we really need to make sure that those experiences and gamification is optimized, and that one size fits all programs will really need to just pave the way for AI-driven, highly tailored loyalty experiences that align with each user's lifecycle stage. So what does that mean, right? So I think brands should really start incorporating that personalized touch point through strategies like micro rewards for their loyalty program, or even like daily challenges, streaks, and milestones to really keep customers engaged throughout their life cycle.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, your point of the engagement, it really kind of falls into this idea of like, it's not just one-time transactional touch points. It's really kind of building community as well with these games or these micro moments or all of these things in terms of like retention and loyalty to make sure that, customers are getting smarter and they know when you want to upsell them. But if they feel like, you're truly tailoring things for them and, they're getting surprise and delight from you or getting rewarded from you, it's really going to help make sure that those customers stay with you. And I'll also even like add to that from the Okendo side, the idea of using your customers to help you acquire new customers. So talking about scaling profitably, if you can nail that loyalty and retention and community building down through things like personalization, AI, everything Emily spoke about, that can also help with that idea of letting your customers be the ones that talk about your brand for you. So as we talked about diversifying channels, if you can get your customers to leave reviews for you or to tell their friends and family or to go on social or like to do that, you can get your average customer, their LTV up. But if they can bring you new customers, it's a really great way as we're thinking again, scaling profitably to utilizing that. So I think focusing on retention and loyalty is so key to actually help with your future acquisition efforts and some of the challenges that we're seeing there in 2025. Anyone else have anything to add here?
I think just to drive that point home when it comes to like the retention side is like, and of course, I'm going to speak from this from like a logistics lens. It's just making sure that you have the right partner in place for your logistics, right? Like making sure that you're getting the order shipped out on time and then making sure they're getting the right product. I'm sure everyone on this call has had a bad experience where you order from a brand and you get the wrong product, or you order from a brand and if you're a procrastinator like me with shopping, you don't get it in time, and that sucks, right? So just making sure, I think, diversifying your logistics, which is like really what I mean by that is just using multiple warehouses. So maybe having a warehouse on the West Coast and on the East Coast. So if any of those are affected by any, natural disasters, hopefully they're not, but that you have another warehouse to ship your product to maintain that retention of that customer.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, again, one bad experience, I mean, you can make up for it as a brand, but one bad experience, again, when we think about like loyalty and retention, can definitely make a difference. And shipping is a key part of that. I know I've had a lot of those go wrong personally. But yeah, I think that that's a really great point of how much just like that experience, if can uh, really map out to long term.
Yeah, I think what like Emily's doing on the agency side, what Okendo's doing, really what all these partners are doing really helps build that retention. And then it's just making sure you have all your boxes checked with like the fulfillment and logistics piece.
But it just goes also to show about like tech stack and making sure your whole tech stack works together for that experience. I mean, one thing from an Okendo side is we always say, like, don't ask for a review if they haven't received the product yet, right? Like, so if there's an issue on the ShipBob side, you want to make sure that, your reviews are being updated or you have that indicator that they actually received a product. So making sure all of that works together as well is just like one of those key things that's like very seems simple and I think ideal, but is probably more difficult in execution, but is very important to get right for the overall experience.
Lindsay, we had a question in chat. I could just
Oh,
answer now.
sure.
Adam asks, can you give an example on the content or website side on how you can maximize personalization for our customers? And so I think about this like, let's say you sell coffee, but you sell like coffee machines. So then on your coffee machine product page, if one of the products you're recommending is another coffee machine or something like if they're at the cart or at the checkout and then you're recommending another coffee machine, it does not feel personalized. It's like a waste of an upsell opportunity. So finding these ways that you can use data to say, all the customers who bought this coffee machine absolutely love this roast. They always get it. And you recommend those. You can tweak these with whatever platform you're using, but you can kind of lean on AI here to parse through the data and recommend the most valuable upsells for these opportunities. And you can put this across the customer journey, whether that's on the product page, whether it's on the landing page. If you're on Shopify Plus, you can tweak with the checkout and do it post-purchase. So there's just lots of opportunities throughout the customer journey to provide those personalized upsells. I was going to say this data point for the end, but we talk about it all the time at Rebuy, where McKinsey did this study. And it said 71% of customers want personalized experiences, but more than that, 76 feel frustrated when they don't receive them. So our little catchy line is basically, it's not a nice to have anymore. Like people are expecting personalization, and it can be an unsatisfying customer experience, a buying experience when you don't provide it to them.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a personalization hot take though, and I will say that I think if you're doing personalization right, a customer should not know that something's being personalized. for them. And I think that's when we say like customer, like people are upset when they don't get a personalized experience. I think because ultimately that's some indicator of something else going wrong in the journey. So like something not being consistent, or again, it's like you recommended me the wrong product. I don't care. But like they're not thinking about like, oh, you only wrote like hi, first name, right? It's just this idea that like they really want to engage with you as a brand. So if you're doing personalization right, I think also it should just become like so natural that unless something goes wrong and then they're like, oh, this isn't good, right? Like, so just something to think about as well. I know personalization, we'll actually get into personalization next even deeper, but just something to think about as well. Is it's my personal hot take on personalization.
And I
It's
think
a good
just to
hot
add
take.
to that, sorry,
Yeah.
is that it should all tie together, right? Even if it's on your website, it should also be within that holistic customer journey experience. Whether it's email, SMS, that content should be similar or if not the same. So they're not seeing two different product recommendations.
Absolutely. Cool. So then let's actually dive deeper into personalization. So as we said, personalization, I think it's really a way for customers more to feel like they're being seen and heard from you as a brand. So what are those ways? And I know Scotty already talked a little bit about how to do them on the website, but what are those ways brands can go beyond basic data to really get to know their shoppers and create more meaningful experiences?
I
So
just did a great.
yeah,
Yeah, do you
Scotty.
want me to take that? Sure.
Yeah.
I just did a case study with Momofuku. It was so great talking to their team, and they do something really cool with personalization where they use targeted gifts with purchase, GWPs, and they combine that with unique UTMs. So they can send you a link. You're a customer. They send you a link. You click the link, and then this gift with purchase populates in your cart. So it's very seamless. They do this with Rebuy. And so they'll do this for you're like a first time customer, you bought this product and they know people also love this product, they'll recommend a complimentary product to you. Or you haven't purchased in a while, it's been a couple months, they'll recommend a product the customer used to enjoy, like a win back. But my favorite thing they do is this birthday campaign where during a customer's birthday month, they have this information. They'll send one of these birthday gift with purchases out to a customer and kind of celebrate, hey, it's their birthday. We wanted to celebrate you with this unique gift for you. They click it, away it goes. But they share that it drives double-digit conversion rates for them and then allows them to be a part of like a special occasion with a customer. And I think looking for those clever opportunities to, Lindsay, as you said, that doesn't feel like an impersonal personalization. Maybe we should have coined that. That's actually pretty catchy. It doesn't feel like a robot just sold that to you. That feels like, oh, the brand actually recognizes it's my birthday. That's very kind. I like this brand. I like these products, and I'm gonna keep that in mind and tell other people about it.
Yeah, I love that. That's what did you say? Impersonal personalization?
Yeah, I feel like I should leave this call and trademark it
Yeah,
though. So maybe that's it for me.
trademark this right now. Coming out of How to Thrive in 2025. No impersonal personalization. I love that. Anyone else have any thoughts on the personalization side?
I can step in here. So I think brands can use customer data to create precise segments. So you can kind of split it between like repeat buyers, high LTV customers, or even first-time purchasers. And then you can deliver hyper-personalized ads, emails, and SMS. So for example, like high LTV customers can get early product access via SMS, while first-time buyers receive a nurtured email series. And then these targeted strategies, they boost engagement, loyalty, and conversion by making shoppers feel truly understood. So like at Triple Whale, we've had some of our customers basically during BFCM, they used our real-time data and pretty much they found out that one of their campaigns wasn't working right at the beginning of BFCM, immediately changed it, and then they saw a spike in how it was performing. So doing things like that to actually like kind of change how you're marketing to these people, that's so key. And that real-time data is also key, not relying on something that happened 12 hours ago or 24 hours ago, because especially like with those key weekends or even like, it's Lunar New Year, like let's take advantage of those different celebrations and cater those marketing methods to the people who are buying.
Absolutely. And I see actually a question came in, which is pretty on the Okendo side. So I can take this in terms of how you toe the line between personalization and privacy, especially when customers are anxious right now. And one thing I will say, particularly about Okendo and the customer marketing experiences that we run, is that's actually a great way to collect zero-party data through things like reviews, surveys, quizzes, where you're asking customers these questions, but it feels more trustworthy because they actually understand like why you're asking them that info. So for a review, it's like when you're asking me like my age or my body type or things like that. Well, I know why you're asking me it because you're going to display it and help other people shop because I, as a consumer, probably looked at the reviews and looked at those filters before making my purchasing decision. Same with a quiz, right? Like you're asking me questions and then you're giving me the product that's right for me. These are really great ways to kind of combat some of that like anxiety from customers as to why you're using their data. Even something like a survey, if you ask it like at the right moment, post-purchase, or even like a shareable link and you offer an incentive and you're like, hey, we're really interested in hearing from you, right? Like making them feel like you as the brand one-to-one want to hear what this specific person wants to say or give their information, it tends to be more trustworthy. And again, that zero-party data, because it's coming straight from the customer, they're voluntarily giving it to you, like that is much easier to use for personalization than any third-party cookies, which again is a whole other conversation. We know those are going away. That's harder. So owning your customer and having some of these programs for you to get that data that then you can use to power that personalization, get them feeling like more of, a community. Like again, it's kind of this flywheel of how you can gain their trust and make you feel like you care about them.
I think something to add here as well, on top of products and reviews, is sign up forms, right? I think that's where zero party data can be really utilized to retarget and email strategies. You have that data firsthand now, and now you can utilize to segment, to create content, all of that.
I think content is another thing that if we talk about like personalization, it's not just always the upsell. And I know we have Scotty and Rebuy here, so upselling is a big part of it, add to cart. But the idea of creating content based on this data, again, like when we think about loyalty, retention, growing all of that profitably, like content is such a great way to personalize something and still like build that community and make it again that less not impersonal personalization, right? So like if you know that, say you're an athleisure brand and one of the questions on a review is like, how are you wearing these leggings? And they say, I like yoga versus like, I'm a runner. Well, then sending that person content about like, the latest trends in yoga, or like how to run in hot weather, or like make sure you're okay. I don't know. I'm not into either of those sports. So maybe that was a terrible example, but like, again, those are ways to start using that personalization to build community and to help with that loyalty and retention versus just constantly, using that data for upselling new product, any of that. Of course, then when you put the email later on, if they're part of a community, they're more likely to get that upsell if you build that.
Yeah, I really like what Scotty said too about like understanding who your first time customers are and like understanding who your repeat customers are. And then from like the fulfillment piece, it's like, okay, for first time customers, can we include samples in their product of a product we think they'd love because they ordered X, I think is a really great way to do it. And then like just to drive it home, it's like the box, right? The personalization of your shipping box. We all get Amazon boxes. They come in a brown corrugated box with Amazon taping on it. Like we're not super excited to open that box versus when you get the box that's, a little bit nicer. It's a soft to touch box. It comes with samples like Glossier like crushes this, right? It comes with that pink like bubble padded I would say like makeup holder. And it comes with stickers, and I feel like you're just more likely to share that on social, or we see so many, get ready with me or unboxing. So like that personalization piece when it comes to like the packaging actually does go a long way. And I always tell brands like my advice is like don't think of it as another like add-on to like your cost. Think of it as more of like a marketing play, just because you get so much more visibility when you have a box that is like Instagrammable or like something you would want to share on TikTok.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well,
Get some real comments on this one too, Carly. Just Scott,
Lauren
you
threw in
want to
here.
add?
Oh, sorry to cut you off, Lindsay. Didn't mean to do that.
No,
Uh,
you're good. I'm here. All you.
Lauren had thrown in here in the chat, and we see this all the time too. Packaging is the one thing that has 100% open rate in marketing. And Carly, I love what you said. I was thinking about like those initial touch points when a customer has made a purchase are so important for helping establish that like brand affinity and loyalty. And listen, as a content guy first, we can talk about content all day long. But I love the idea of I was chatting to a customer and actually a different company, and they were a like farm to table brand. And the thing that they had such success with was taking you behind the scenes with that like creator story first. And I always think about it's way harder to churn from a face than it is from a logo. And so if in those first touch points, that first email, that first physical touch point, maybe there's a QR code on it, but you can give a message from the founder, a message from the creator. Maybe it's a yoga brand. Maybe they're like, thank you so much for purchasing. Just wanted to show you like my favorite sun salutation. Oh man, guys, I tried to have the metaphor going there. But if you can provide those little touch points and get some actual face-to-face interaction so that your customers are associating you with faces as opposed to just your logo, harder to churn. I think about that farming family all the time. And if I was getting their subscription box monthly, gosh, that would be one of the hard things to cut out of when I'm trimming down my stuff, because I would love to see them on my socials. I love seeing all the stuff they do on their farm. And so, yeah, it's a good churn reduction technique.
Absolutely. Make personalization personal. Again,
Flipped it
Great.
around. We
Put
love
it-
it.
we're really cranking out trademarks here today. Great. So I think like we talked a lot about personalization. In terms of acquisition and going back to that idea of diversifying your channels, obviously, what was it, a week and a half ago, maybe a little longer, we had the temporary shutdown of TikTok. I know when we were doing this webinar, we switched from shutdown looming to the shutdown happened to now we're back. So kind of talking about that, how do we think, the short-lived ban and what is kind of unknown in the future will impact brands' marketing and social media strategies in 2025? And Carly, I'll start off with you for this one.
Yeah, from like a fulfillment perspective and seeing what happened with TikTok, right? Like we fulfill orders for TikTok, we fulfill our brand's orders on TikTok, and obviously that like what was it, 8-hour period that TikTok was down, we saw orders go down, right? And then even when TikTok restarted, like we got the notification that it's back, I think a lot of people were worried. Like, if I'm going to order off TikTok, like, am I going to get my order? Is this going to shut down tomorrow? No, we've obviously seen that shift. Like, orders on TikTok are back up. We're seeing, a ton of volume through those channels again, but I think it's just critical to have that like supply chain that's super stable, right? If I've taken anything from working in logistics for 7 years, it's really just finding the right partners. A lot of brands will have their logistics scattered, right? So what I mean by that is they'll have a 3PL, a fulfillment center that handles their D2C, a TikTok warehouse maybe, and they'll also have a B2B warehouse. And that just is really challenging because let's say there's a ban on TikTok, right? All that inventory is just sitting there. Whereas, and I'm sure everyone on the call can speak to this in more depth, but we saw a lot of our brands start to run promotions on Shopify, on Amazon, and take that inventory that might have been put aside for TikTok or what they were expecting from TikTok, and then just use that for those D2C, those B2B orders, those Amazon orders. But that's really like what I would recommend with like the TikTok ban is, of course, like diversify. And then just make sure when you're thinking about logistics, you're not putting all of your eggs in one basket.
See, you have anything?
Yeah, can I piggyback off that
Yeah.
actually? Because I think diversification, just like you said, not putting all your eggs in one basket. I mean, brands must diversify beyond single platforms to reduce risk from just these changes, these disruptions, bans like TikTok, all that kind of stuff. So the uncertainty around TikTok highlights the need for adaptability. So using tools like, again, like Triple Whale, you can actually track your performance across all your different channels and knowing which channels work, which don't, you can kind of pivot. Or if something, like TikTok, if there's a shutdown, you still are performing with all the other platforms at the same time. So yeah. just like Carly said, don't put all your eggs in one basket.
And I'd also add too that, well, one, I think the importance of owning your customer and making sure that like you're not fully reliant on these channels for your engagement becomes even more important. So again, kind of going to like that idea of how do you get them back on your site? How do you make sure you have their email, like driving them there now, just in preparation for what could potentially happen is really important. And then again, just goes to show that like customer-led marketing, because we don't know what's happening with these platforms and politics and everything right now, it's just so important to think about them as how can I use my customers? How can I own my customers? And how can I use them to acquire everyone? And then one other thing I'll also kind of add to that, and I'm saying this more as myself as a consumer, but I know like I'm still on TikTok, but personally, like I've been a little more skeptical since it came back. Like the whole way everything was, is it shutting down? Is it not? It shut down. The messages, like it made me a little skeptical. There was also a little bit of a trend of some influencers kind of outing themselves as they thought the platform was going down. I don't know if anyone else noticed that. But some of them were confessing, like, I never tried the products I recommended to you. I don't know why they did that. But then when it went back up, some of their credibility shot down a little bit. So I think one other thing that's not necessarily related to TikTok overall, but I think consumers are getting smarter about influencers. Um, so I think, again, just going back to that idea of why owning your customers and having them be your best marketers rather than relying on influencers or the actual social media channels that these influencers are on is just, again, it doesn't have to be an overnight shift, but I think it's something that brands should really look to focus on this year in preparation for just kind of the landscape potentially changing overall.
I know many of you in the chat, I'm sure, feel very overwhelmed with like all the things we can recommend and tell you to do. And I am unfortunately going to add one more to the pile, but take it all with a grain of salt. Only do what you are capable of with your bandwidth. But when we were having our pre-call about this and kind of chatting about it, as Lindsay mentioned, like the TikTok ban had just happened. I personally have some entrepreneur friends, some creator friends where that was where all like the majority of their followers were. So it's terrifying to lose 40,000 followers who were buying your products. And so that wasn't the time to recommend another place to go. But I would say, if you're looking for another social channel to go and to build on, I really can't recommend YouTube enough. YouTube's connected to Google. It's the second largest search channel in the world. You can help boost your SEO. You can help people find your products better. And you don't have to be putting, making funny reels or social posts of you dancing or lip syncing to anything. I welcome it if you want to. I'd watch. But you can talk about your products. You can do that founder content where you're telling why you started your brand, and you can post these things here. And over time, customers will find them, and it'll be another place where they can form a connection with you. And if I would spend my money on any of these channels, YouTube would be the one where YouTube and Google aren't going away. I could see some of that TikTok crowd going to Instagram and Reels, but there almost feels like from talking to some people, Instagram feels a little too polished. TikTok had this authentic, I'm just throwing something up, where Instagram kind of preserves that very polished, very meticulous content. So who knows? Is it going to go to YouTube? We were joking about Red Note the other day, but that's wild to try and navigate through. So yeah, just do what you can do what you can do best. But I would recommend YouTube if you're looking for another place to post content.
Absolutely. I definitely, I'll say, even just from a B2B perspective, like YouTube is something we're all actively looking at. We see video everywhere. So I fully agree with you, Scotty. I think it's the next evolution for you to be thinking about. Anyone else have anything to add on the TikTok side? Cool. All right, let's move into AI, which, I know is something that, again, isn't new, but has been rising in popularity. I know we had some stock market shakeups the other day because of who was dominating AI. So we know it's not going anywhere. So for brands looking to lean into this, how can they use AI and automation to boost customer engagement while, again, keeping that personal touch that we talked about as well? So I will start with you, Emily.
Great. I I think we've talked a lot about AI and some of these recommendations that I'm about to speak to again, and it might sound repetitive, but I think brands are already kind of using AI in some form, right? Whether that be generative or predictive AI. But I think there's still a few ways that we can just optimize some workflows, especially making some small changes for that impactful strategy, right? So, for example, right, I think site. We talked about this before. Scotty, you mentioned this AI-driven product recommendations, whether it's at checkout on the PDP, when it comes to marketing campaigns, curating content ideas with AI tools to build that relationship, understand the customer, feed that data, and build that overall marketing campaign. And then again, right, with audiences, I think platforms, ESPs like Attentive and Klaviyo already have this already instilled where you can create more tailored segments to really attract customers throughout each life cycle, whether that be predictive customer LTV or behavioral segments. And I think that's a way that you can really just start as a small business to optimize AI.
Yeah, absolutely. I think something interesting that's been coming in the chat as well is like, where do we get started with all this data? How do we know where to start? And even personally, like only more recently am I diving into some of like ChatGPT's capabilities and the idea that like you can use that to say like, here's my data. What's a campaign I should run? Or like, what are the highest segments you're seeing here? Like, it is amazing what it can do. I think customers are really wary and they can tell when like content is AI generated, but I think using AI to help you make sense out of data and to be more efficient, especially again with small teams or like you don't know where to get started, that is such a great like efficiency tool for you to kind of make sense of all this. And then I think as technology platforms as well, a lot of us, a lot of our offerings are starting to integrate AI, and the benefit of those tools again is just making you more efficient. So things like, and I'll just speak from the Okendo side, like we can use AI to help you figure out like your quiz recommendations, right? So that you don't have to think about like every question, every step. And, things like that, definitely take advantage of the tools that are already in your tech stack. But I think that's definitely something to think about is like brand, like people know if something is AI generated, but it can help you in the background be more efficient as a marketer.
Yeah, we see it on the customer support side, right? The Wizmo question, where's my order? Like, it's really easy to plug AI using some of these customer support tools to answer that question. I mean, I'm sure a lot of brands get that question. If you can plug in AI to simply just send them their tracking and to answer that question, you're going to free up a lot of time for yourself. And then for us, on like the fulfillment side, what we're doing with like the automation is we're actually looking at to what shipping zones and zip codes you're shipping to the most. That way we can make recommendations on where to split your inventory to achieve 2-day shipping. So kind of like to say what you said, Lindsay, is just like really using this AI to up level you. And like, I mean, I think where to start is just looking at your tech stack today. Are you using the AI tools? Are you using the quizzes by Okendo? I think is like a really great starting point and like pretty easy to implement.
I don't want to come off salesy here, but I saw in the chat, Rebuy is a great tool if you wanted to get started with some AI product recommendations. You can book a demo on our website. There's no, you're not locked into anything, but the people here at Rebuy can walk you through and just show you some opportunities where if you use Rebuy, you could see some incremental lift in your revenue, or you could look to pursue that somewhere else. We sometimes call it like AI on autopilot. It can really help you do that. But at the same time, you can have that human touch too. You can designate, okay, I want these recommendations on the product page, these two to be AI generated, just give the customer what would be best for them. But I'm really pushing our Valentine's Day offer. So I want to make sure this offer right here, the first one, is like the Valentine's Day pack. You can have that nice mix of both, that human touch and that AI touch to really make sure you're delivering the most personal experience for your customer to hammer it home.
Absolutely. And I know I said wait till the end, but just seeing some comments come in as well, just in regards to like wanting to stay tuned in and trying the newest tech and the cost of all this. And I think one thing that, we all probably agree on is do what you can. So I know we're kind of sitting here saying like, here's a ton of recommendations and all of this, but as it relates to like personalization, retention, fulfillment, all of that, it's even the lowest level again of just engaging your community and like parsing this data where you can and collecting what you can, like that's a great place to start. So obviously you want to be able to do all this, but I think Scotty said it in the beginning of figure out the one or two things that work best for you and put your efforts into that. So, really think about like what's working for us, what's not, where do I want to focus, and even just like nailing one or two channels really, really well is going to help you with this year too. Cool. All right. So to end on a more positive note, so we've been talking a lot about challenges, retention, how to scale profitably, how to make sure you're diversifying so that your acquisition, isn't reliant on one or two channels. But let's shift the conversation a bit and focus on positives. So I want to ask every panelist here, what are some easy wins or key predictions for 2025 that can help brands not just survive this year, but thrive? And Tamana, I'll start with you.
Awesome. Yeah. And I think before I dive into this question, just like you said, everyone's here and some people might be overwhelmed with like, where do I begin? But you know what? Use all four of us as a resource. Reach out to us. Like, we are here to help you. And I'm sure you're going to get our contact info after this, but all of us can guide you in the right direction. And I think, sorry, just going back to your question, but you know what, like 2025, just like you said, it's not just a year to survive. Let's thrive. And we would suggest, that brands that invest in first-party data and AI-powered personalization, they're the ones that are going to thrive. So easy wins include optimizing customer experience through personalization, focusing on the post-click experience and post-purchase engagement, and leveraging predictive analytics to anticipate customer needs. So again, by using tools like Triple Whale to make data actionable, brands can optimize their marketing efforts, improve retention, and ultimately drive growth, even in a competitive landscape. And I'm happy to send this in the chat, but we do have a free dashboard that you guys can get started with. I'll drop that in the chat. I'll drop my my LinkedIn info in the chat as well. So like, please feel free to reach out to me if I can be of assistance to you guys.
Emily, I'll kick it off to you next.
Perfect. Yeah, I think that everyone has already said this, right? We have the same sentiment. What we really need to do is understand customer data, use personalization, and then build a really cohesive, creative experience for each customer. I think that's a key win that a lot of small businesses can really adapt right now without having to rely so heavily on AI and all these different tech stacks, right? You have your core tech stack right now. These are things that you can implement today or tomorrow with your core team. And I think the other thing to note here is that while I do work at The Luxury, I think one of the great things is that we are offering a free health check for all of our panel attendees. So you can learn more about your business. We can help you answer key questions like how much more revenue could your business be earning, or how does your performance benchmarks compare to your peers? And these are just a simple health check to really create a powerful way to start your 2025. And I'm sure you'll get my contact information later. But if anyone has questions, yeah, feel free to reach out, just like Tia said.
Scotty, what's your take?
I was trying to be as organized as T and write a chat message as well, so I'll just post it after. Okay, again, high level. Let's just, I don't want it to be like sappy. Not even think in 2025. Let's just thrive today. Let's think about thriving every day. What like one thing can we do every day, except on the weekend, because relax, to help the business grow? Like what can we do to help the brand day by day? It can be very overwhelming to look at the entire year. I can't believe we're halfway through the new roaring 2020s. Doesn't feel that roaring. So look for those little wins you can do. Something I reflect on all the time, especially here at Rebuy when we're thinking of all the things we have to do, is thinking about the word priority. And it literally means, I think the Latin translation is like first in rank, meaning like the one thing that's supposed to be your priority. But so often we're like, what are your top 7 priorities? Just focus on one thing that you can improve today or over the next week and go for that. Of course, we'd love to chat to you at Rebuy. I really believe it's so great to see so many of you are seeing success with Rebuy. I really believe in this product. It helps entrepreneurs. I'm going to post a little link. You can go get a demo. Again, no, you're not locked into anything. We're offering a free 30-day free trial to anyone in this call. So I'd really encourage you, if you're interested in AI product recommendations, you're not really sure where to get started, or you have a smaller team, you just want to check us out, please book a demo with our lovely Rebuy team, and we'd be happy to talk to you.
Great. And Carly.
Yeah, to take it home, I think, really utilizing these like free trials, talking to these like amazing experts on the panel. I think everyone's sharing their email, really utilizing the community. And from like a ShipBob perspective and like a logistics perspective is really think about diversifying your inventory, making sure you're achieving that 2-day shipping, making sure you have low shipping costs. And if you need to chat through this, or you're like, hey, I'm a brand with a ton of SKUs, how do I do this? Or hey, I'm a brand that, we sell products and our average order is $13. How do I do this? Like, please reach out to me. We see all of those examples and we are definitely happy to help. And with that, Lindsay, I will hand it back off to you to take us home.
Yeah, so I will say, just in terms of kind of one easy win, something to kind of move into this year is definitely taking a customer-led approach to your marketing. And what I mean by that is just, again, the transition to owning as much of your customer data as you can, but also putting your customers at the forefront. So, when you think about your marketing, how I talked a little bit about people are getting skeptical of influencers, or letting your customers do the marketing for you to scale more profitably, especially again, we didn't get too into tariffs, but people are going to be potentially price sensitive this year. So going back to that idea of loyalty and retention, it's all kind of ties together. But like one really easy thing you can do is, if you're collecting customer reviews, use that in your marketing. So when you send emails out, say we have X number of 5-star reviews, or hear what so-and-so had to say about this, especially in like paid ads, all that. It's a really great way to just put your customers forward. Again, this idea of like letting your customers be your best marketers. It's very trustworthy if it's done again in the right way. We always say, don't be afraid of negative reviews. So let those, unless they're inappropriate or something is off, keep those there, because we want your customers to trust you. And I think that that is something that, again, like just going into this transition of some of the challenges we have, something as simple as that would be a really easy win to kind of help you transition to more of like a customer-centric, scalable approach to growing your business. All right. We have any other questions? If anyone, I'll give everyone a minute if they want to type some stuff out for our panelists. If not, we'll let everyone go a bit early. Just seeing if we missed anything quickly. Oh, we got one coming in. Oh, thank you. You're welcome. All right. I think we got most of the questions answered actually throughout the conversation. So with that, really excited for 2025, even though we said this is the longest January. I think there's opportunities for everyone to thrive this year. Like we said, be in touch with all of us. We're all a resource for everyone here, and we can't wait to hear about your thriving stories this year. So thanks so much, everyone, and we will send a recording of this soon.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Lindsay.
Lindsay.
Thanks, everyone.